guys, I'm Daryl and welcome to this edition of our camper build. We have done the galley, or just about all of it. Focusing this week mainly on the rear end of the thing. I've put in the back bulkhead. A lot of guys will generally do a full size hatch because it's fairly simple to make. There's two reasons I didn't want to do that. One, they can get really heavy really quick. I could do the framing out of aluminium and sandwich it with the cladding on the outside and some more ply or something inside. However, I went through the process of putting the seals and everything that I needed, the hinges and blah blah blah, into a shopping cart, and it was looking fairly exy for what I was getting. I can't find anyone in Australia that makes a really good custom hatch. All the caravan sizes were really narrow or not wide enough, so I actually initially thought I could just buy the plastic hatch and put there, but no. I did find a guy in the US who was a really lovely chap, and it looks as though he makes a really spot-on product. However, for time constraints and overall cost, I thought I'd try this take on it. So I've bought a 1000 by 800 top hinged caravan window. My thought pattern behind that was I'm getting something which is a pop-in thing with all the seals already done, the hinges already done, and what I probably need to do to it is take the glass out and replace the glass with a sheet of the 3mm composite panel that we're cladding the thing in. The glasses are roughly the same size and it looks as though it should work. So that's what we're going to do with that. And once I put the panel in, I can then put the gas struts, attach those to that panel, and the bottom hat clips to hold it shut. I can then attach that. This window I've bought was fairly cheap on eBay, and when you see a lot of the issues with caravans leaking and the like, I think it's because of windows like this. It's got no silicone in any of the outside joints, and it's relying completely on what you're putting around it to seal it, and it's actually held together with strapping that you strap parcels up with. So it's, yeah, I suppose once you install it it's alright, but I was a bit shocked at what it was. But we're going to modify it anyway, so it'll be okay. Well, I hope it is, if I can change the glass over, and I can't really see a problem because the glass actually screws in with a self-tapper top and bottom, and with a bit of silicone that holds it all in. So if I undo those, take the silicone off, I should just be able to pull the sections away to replace it. Okay, so onto the cabinetry. Now, my thought pattern behind this was as much storage as we could get. So I've put in a full width cabinet and it's reasonably deep. Because of that, I can't have hinged doors. So I've put in a sliding system. And for the slides, I've used an off-the-shelf slide that's meant for a glass panel up to 5mm thick. For the doors, I've used the same material, the gloss-faced 3.6mm ply I'm using for the roof lining, the interior roof lining. And we have a plane. Excellent. I've put in a brushed stainless pull on either end. The downside I can see with this system is that when travelling, because it slides so easily, it'll open, everything will fall out. So I do need to get some sort of catch mechanism, and I'm thinking a magnetic catch. But we'll work through that. I'm still researching what I can use for that, but I'm sure I'll find something. Again, the top and bottom of this cabinet is bolted through the side walls fairly stoutly, and I've got some supports across. Now I've put a small shelf here. My idea there is that you can put glasses or cups or whatever you're using during the day, and a coffee machine, because we all need a coffee in the morning. Nespresso machine, it's their latest one with the barcodes on the pods. I like those because they're clean. I'm not carrying around coffee granules, and I got the machine cheap, so it works out really well. So that will sit there and we'll affix it down so it doesn't float around. With cooking, I'm not having a hot plate system in here or the like. I reviewed our cooking needs, and we're going Weber Q, the really small Weber barbecues. I'm hoping that it will just sit here when we travel. It'll put it in a bag or something, and I'll put a removable side table on the side of the camper. With regard to a sink, I'm of two minds of that, but anyway, we can work at that as we go. So we've got, the main thing I think from my camping use is you need food preparation area is a good thing, and this will do it. It's fairly practical and it's fairly basic, and we can tweak it as we go, like the rest of the camper. Now I've also done some more 240 volt stuff. I've put a hinged circuit board here, so we can run all the cables up through this side and have them all hidden. And we can also mount some 12 volt stuff through this, and it makes it easy to get at a later date. With the GPO, I've surface mounted that using the CMS surface mount plate. The reason I did that was I was a bit concerned that if I flush mounted it with the thickness of the plywood, I wouldn't have enough room to put the CMS cables on at the back, and it looks fine there anyway. And that means I can also put in some 12 volt outlets there, and I've got a 12 volt box I need to mount on the back of that, so a lot of the wiring can come up through here, and they're also fairly short runs, so it all keeps it fairly neat on the one side of the camper. The internal 240 volt GPO will also be just through that bulkhead, so again, short runs and fairly neat and hidden. We can also get to that at a later date, and I'll fix that here with a couple of self-tappers. So if I need to get to the electrical wiring at all, it's just two self-tappers out, swing the cover plate over, and we've got access to everything. Now I've also made a list, and I'm generally not the type of guy to do lists. However, I think after watching far too much of Roadkill and that type of show where they're building vehicles and they make a list, it's not a bad thing to do. We'll quickly run through it. The Galley, I need to put wine storage in it because we all need a drop of wine at the end of the day. Some door catches. On the sliding door, just some magnetic catches to hold it while we're travelling. Interior, door stays. On the doors that lift up, I'll put some catches so the doors actually do stay up. I've also bought one of the folding caravan fans that you see in most of the high-end caravans, because we're not going to be staying with this 240 volt all the time. I've got to finish the lining, I've got to put the finishing strips in, I've got to sand and varnish the insides of the sides of the vehicle, and that's it for the interior. The fridge box, I have to put captive nuts on the inside of the vehicle so that once we clad it, we can bolt it back up to the front of the main part. I've got to put a fridge slide in it, I've got to clad the thing, I've got to put doors at each end, I've got to put another U-bolt on the drawbar to hold it down. For the exterior, I've got to finish off the roof lining, I've got another sheet at the back to finish off, but I've left that off so we can do the kitchen. I've got to do all the spars. There's a few spars in there sporadically, but I'll need to finish off the spars. Air conditioning spars. We're putting a rooftop air conditioner on this, and it weighs about 32 kilos. So you don't get the flapping, the bouncing up and down of the unit on the roof. We need some structural spars across. Generally you'll use square section aluminium. You can buy that from the air conditioning makers and cut it down, however it's quite expensive and it's just easier to box it up with timber, sandwich up a couple of pieces of the aluminium section and bolt that to the sidewalls. Rear hatch, I've got to replace the glass in it, I've got to do the struts and the catches, I've got to clad the sides, clad the roof, put in the windows and doors, the finishing strip all the way around it to waterproof the whole thing. I've got to paint all the guards, and I've got to make a table on the side, a removable table, so we can fit the Weber barbecue when we're camping. Wiring, I've got to finish off the 240 volt, there's another GPO to go inside and wire all that up, and that's done. 12 volt. I've got to do the USB points, I have to do the lights throughout, there's got to be a solar connection, and I've got to do an Anderson plug, run that down to attach to the car, and where I'm going to mount the battery and mount the battery. I've got to do the tail lights on this thing and the wiring, the number plate light and the wiring, and an external light, so when you come back drunk at night or something, you can see where your van is. Trailer, I've got to fix the centre bolt on the right hand spring because that's broken. So I'm sure there's more, but that's a fairly good list. So I've weighed this morning and we're at 510 kilos. I'm sure last time I had the battery in the fridge box, however, and that's 7 kilos. So if I did, we're at 517. The drawbar weight at this morning was 40 kilos, and if I would have had the battery in, it's 47. So we're not too bad, but we're still a little bit light on the drawbar weight. My overall plan is that I've got a 32 kilo air conditioner to go on the roof of this thing, and whilst that can sit over the axle, if I move it forward, that should give me some more forward weight on the drawbar. Well, that's my hope. So we'll see how we go anyway. But the weight will just spiral from now on, because 32 kilos on the air conditioner, 30 kilos on the 270 gull-wing awning, which I haven't bought yet, but they seem to be around that weight. There's 62 kilos in those two items, and that's without cladding, all the windows, mattress. So if we can keep under the 650 mark, I know I said 600, but when I was starting to think, oh god, we've got 62 kilos in air conditioning and awning, I think it's more 650-ish. Which is okay, because I've got to 750 with this registration status. I figured we'd have 50 kilos of gear, so if we can stay mid sixes, it's still fine. But yeah, but you can see if you build these things quite heavy, you're going to be way up there. So anyway, something to think about. I have bought most of the stuff that I need. Most businesses in my country close down on the 20th of December and don't open until the 6th. So it's been a very expensive couple of weeks, but I have bought, apart from the awning, I have bought most of the things that I need. I still don't have my bags from Drifter. There's a story there. I'm not going into it. I'm hoping they will be here today, but I'm not sure if I'm getting all of them. But anyway, that's where we are today. We'll be churning these out over the Christmas break when I get a chance, but I am going to have a bit of a holiday. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye now, guys.